you stragglers, you're late. It started at 10. We told them. Okay, I'm going to go over some, well, first off, I want to thank all of you for being here today, and I want all of you to give yourself a round of applause. Just a few housekeeping things. If you could please make sure to turn the sound off on your phone. You can video or take pictures, but please turn your sound down because we have a lot of good information to share. From volunteers, we have not been able to reach out to everyone, so if you have filled out that information as a volunteer, we apologize, but we will call you. We had 3 weeks to get this program together. Indivisible asked us and honestly, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So, I think that's the housekeeping information. I do want to thank, and I wish all of the veterans in the audience could stand up. I sincerely want to thank all of the veterans that are here today. I myself am a veteran. And I served during the Vietnam era. I was 18 years old, and I counseled Vietnam veterans as they came back from Vietnam as an 18-year-old girl. And it saddens me to see what our so-called president is doing to veterans. And also, I want to thank all of the families who have lost loved ones, in the military. They basically saved our country. And unfortunately now, we have a Nazi in the White House. I just want to start by, I want to tell you, I did invite Trump, and I did invite Elon today, but they declined because they had a tee-off time. Okay, and of course, the best laid plans are always messed up. And of course, I left the first page of my discussion at home. So I'm going to wing it. So I want to talk a little bit.
From every walk of life, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, they all know it's wrong to cut veterans health care, wrong to cut FAA air traffic controllers, wrong to fire FBI agents for doing
Turn it up, please.
wrong to cut deals with corrupt politicians, wrong to pardon terrorists, wrong to get in bed with Putin, wrong for an American president to call himself the king. They're organizing, getting loud, and getting heard, going to town hall meetings and putting MAGA on the hot seat. Trump already give up in our fight, but we'd be too scared to push back. Well, fuck that. So Trump's gone, and America is free again. And nothing's going to change that.
congressional staffers that felt like the Tea Party movement had really been successful pushing against Barack Obama. And two of those folks, Leah Greenberg and Ezra Levine, and two others, wrote a guide. It's called The Indivisible Guide, something or other, and I don't have my notes. But anyway, they wrote that guide, and it immediately took off. Thank you. I love all of you too. So anyway, so Ezra and Leah, they thought that similar action taken by the left could be effective against what they perceived as Trump's bigoted and anti-democratic agenda. By February 4th of 2017, less than 2 months from the publication of the Indivisible Guide, about 2 weeks after Trump's inauguration, more than 3,800 local groups identifying as indivisibles had formed and declared their support for the movement. And just so you know, there are 500,000 people just like you guys today that are going to rally. Probably closer to it. So, and of course we're nonpartisan, okay, just got that in. So I'm going to give you a little backstory on me. I retired last March and thought that I could just, go home and sit in my recliner and watch TV, maybe do a little yard work. And I was watching Rachel Maddow one night. Because I watch her all the time. So it really wasn't just one night. But by May 7th, I was at KU having surgery because luckily they had found a tumor on the tail of my pancreas. So I went in there, I was there for 7 days. They've taken my spleen and they took part of my pancreas. Now, my doctor, as a follow-up, she got right in my face and she said, "Beverly, there is something in life that you need to do because most people don't survive. They were lucky to find it early." So, I kind of thought about that, and I thought, what am I going to do? I just want to sit and watch TV. So anyway, like I said, I was watching Rachel Maddow one night, and I saw Ezra Levine from Indivisible. And I thought to myself, there must be an Indivisible group here in Kansas City. So I got online, and I found a group. It's called Blue Brookside. Yeah, Elizabeth Duke heads that up. Yep, she does a good job. And they were having a rally. Well, actually, they were going to try to meet with Josh Hawley. I don't know where he is. I think he's still running. He's running down the hall somewhere. But anyway, I went to that rally, and it was pretty cool. It was fun. But I started talking to the people that were there. And a lot of the people were like, well, I don't know where to go for information. I want to do something, but I don't know what to do or how to do it. And so I went home, of course, and sat down in that recliner. And I started thinking, I have the skills and expertise that I've learned over my entire career, and I started to design a website. Then I designed a Facebook page, and then I designed a Facebook group, and I tried to do Blue Sky, I'm not real good with that, Instagram, not good with that. And that's kind of how all of this really got started. And I I just felt like, you know what? People need a place where they can go find information on events, get educated about what they can do. I've had people contact me that are disabled, that can't go to rallies, but they want to do something. And I do want to say to the other groups, because I've been to a few meetings, we're not in competition, okay? We are in this together, all of us. So, you know, if you're the head of another group, give me a call. Because we want to round up all the groups in Kansas City that we can and have large rallies to really make a statement. And by the way, you can belong to as many groups as you want. I give you permission. Thank you, whoever did that. So, now there are indivisible chapters all over the country. The bubbles, thank you. Thank you, whoever's doing that. Thank you, God. He's looking out. Or she's looking out, sorry. So you can see by the bubbles, we're all over the country. And of course there's 20, probably, I guess that's not in Kansas City directly, but probably Kansas and part of Missouri. Yeah, it says here there are 19 different groups across Kansas and 28 in Missouri, and I'm sure that's going to grow after today, no doubt about it. I missed this, but my name is Beverly. Did I say that? And I have two incredible women that have helped me put this together, like I said, in 3 weeks. Krista and Kathy, would you stand up? Let me tell you what, these two women rock. Believe me, if I had any idea that it was this much work, I would have stayed working, really. So before I turn it over to Kathy and Krista, I just want to say, Trump and Musk are Nazis. They are racist, they are fascists, sociopaths, narcissistic, misogynistic, homophobic, bigoted, pathological liars, and Hitler wannabes. Now, we all know that, or hopefully everybody here knows that. If you don't, you know, there you go. So we can't be mad, and I really mean this sincerely, we can't be mad at Republicans or MAGAs or anybody that disagrees with us because they've been brainwashed at least 40 years. I can share with you when I was in outside sales back in the 80s, and there weren't very many women that traveled like I did back then, and I would drive through the back roads and I'd turn on the radio and there was Rush Limbaugh. I mean, so if you think about that, how long have these people been brainwashed? A long time. It's almost like POWs. And so we have to treat them gently because they've been brainwashed. I mean, just pure and simple. But, you know, Rush got his. So again, talk radio and Fox News, specifically Fox News, have brainwashed people and spread propaganda and Trump's lies over many, many years. They have continued to push the narrative of the other being bad. Anybody that does not look like them, love like them, do what they do, share their religious beliefs, or believe what they believe are bad and do not belong here. We call that bullshit. And we are here to stop them, and now I'm going to turn it over to Kathy.
I was a little worried about speaking in front of all of these people today, and after listening to Beverly, I have a new fear, which is that I don't have nearly as many laugh lines. So bear with me, guys. Let's see if this clicker is going to work for us now. Hey, there we go. All right. So I am going to talk a little bit about how we got here. So how did we get here first before we go to the global? How did we get here? How did we get here in this room? As Beverly mentioned, we've been going to rallies, we've been going to meetings, we've been talking to people, and there are 3 things that people keep saying over and over and over. There's so much going on, I don't understand, I wish I could retake civics. Does anybody feel like that? Yeah. When people say this is unconstitutional and you're like, oh, I don't remember what the line is in the Constitution about that. I need Schoolhouse Rock back again. So we are hoping to do some education in these meetings starting today to help kind of reinform and pick up on things you may or may not have learned back in 8th grade, like the definition of fascism. Also, people have been saying, I want to be involved, but I don't know what to do. I'm new to this. I've never done anything like this before. I don't know what to do. Does anybody feel like that? Yeah. All right. So this is for you. Most of what we are going to talk about today when we are giving these presentations is about action items. It doesn't have to be hard. We're new to this as well. Terrence is not new to this. You'll hear from the most experienced person up here at the end. But for a lot of us, we're new to this too. So join us. It doesn't have to be hard. Really, it's just about showing up. And all of you showed up today. All right. The last thing I keep hearing over and over is, I thought I'd be the only one at this meeting. I've had 3 different people describe themselves as the only liberal in Centralia, Missouri. There are a lot of us. We just don't know each other. So we need to build community. We need places like this where we can get together and network and make new friends and understand what other people are going through. This is hard. What's going on right now in the world is difficult, but we can get through it together. And maybe even make some new friends. Okay, so, like I said, disclaimer. I'm not a professional. I don't have a PhD in history, or philosophy, or political science. I don't have all the answers, but you guys might have some answers that we don't have. So I would invite everybody who wants to give feedback during these presentations, or if you have a question, to use this QR code. So take out your phone, point it at the QR code, it will pull up a link. When you open that link, it's going to open a survey for you. It'll ask you your name. If you don't want to be identified in public, that's fine. Just put in Winnie the Pooh or something. And then tell us your feedback. If you have questions, answer the questions. If you have suggestions, if there's an organization that we want or that we need to know about that we want to share, put it in there and we'll try to incorporate that along the way. And if you have any feedback for us about these meetings, about these presentations, let us know that too. And this will keep popping up throughout the presentations. So you don't have to save it right now. It'll keep popping up. It will also come back to the beginning. So if you hit submit and you have another idea, hit it again. Don't wait until the end and store all your ideas. Keep them coming and we'll try to incorporate as we go. This is a test, so we'll see how it goes. All right, so now that we know why we are here, how did we get here as a society? So Trump and Musk are obviously a huge problem, but I think it's important to recognize that if we had a healthy democracy, they never could have gotten into power. There are big things that have been happening, as Beverly said, for decades. that need to be addressed. Tribalism in politics is a huge, huge problem. I'm from the Columbia, Missouri area. Anybody a Mizzou fan? Yeah, all right. Stevens College, all right, that's a shout out. Anybody a KU fan? All right. So then you will understand how much it breaks my heart that I think the KU people just cheered louder. That's my tribe, right? I grew up from the time I was a little girl going to basketball games. My parents were alumni. I loved the University of Missouri. And if somebody came to me with a bunch of data and facts about how much better Kansas was, I would fight them on that. That's not my tribe. That's okay in college sports, but that's not okay in politics, right? That's how people vote. We can't have people voting based on a team that they ascribe to. But that's how it feels. Asking a Republican who's been a lifelong Republican to vote Democrat feels like they're betraying their tribe. But it shouldn't. It should really be about the content of a person's character and who's going to do what's best for society. So these are problems that will take a long time to address, right? But we gotta start now, better late than never. Breakdowns in our systems of checks and balances. Obviously, the judicial system, people are suing this administration, but that process works really slow, right? And when Congress is totally on board with the executive takeover, it doesn't help. They're not doing their jobs for systems of checks and balances. So we need to push them to do their jobs. Last two things I'll share from this side. Lack of a shared version of the truth. To me, as a scientist, all right, we got some other, that is to me one of the most disturbing things. We used to be able to say, here's a problem, and then disagree on how to solve the problem. Now we don't even agree on what the problem is, or whether or not it exists. And if we can't agree on the color of the sky, then how are we going to get anywhere with trying to actually fix real problems? And science is an important part of that. Last but not least, on this slide at least, I would be remiss if I did not mention the little impact that racism and sexism have in all of this. So there are long-term solutions. Getting Trump out of office is not the end of the game. I say all of this to say we have to get involved and stay involved for the long run. Okay, so at the risk of looking like the substitute teacher who doesn't know what she's doing, so she rolls the TV cart in, I have a video for you today. Because while I don't have a PhD, this person does. So we have a Yale University professor, professor of philosophy, who's done a video about how fascism works. It's a little bit long, it's 9 minutes, but it is jam-packed full of information. And I think it really, really draws a through line and helps us remember our history. And that's what's important. We have to remember our history or we are doomed to repeat it, right? Yeah!
Fascism is a cult of the leader who promises national restoration in the face of supposed humiliation by immigrants, leftists, liberals, minorities, homosexuals, women, in the face of what the fascist leader says is a takeover of the country's media, cultural institutions, schools by these forces. And that's why you need a really macho, powerful, violent response. The fascist leader says he will solve the problem. Fascism is right-wing by nature. It's based on ultranationalism. However, you can have ultra-nationalist movements that are ultra-nationalist movements of minority groups. There is left-wing authoritarianism. There are bad things on the left. Stalin killed many, many people. Mao killed many, many people. These are terrible figures, but not all terrible things are fascist. Fascism is a very particular ideological structure. When thinking about fascism, you can't think about these individual elements in isolation. They come as a bundle. My name is Jason Stanley. I'm the Jacob Urowski Professor of Philosophy at Yale University and the author of 5 books, most recently, How Fascism Works: The Politics of Us and Them. We forget that many fascist regimes started off as democratic political parties. We forget that Hitler, the Nazi Party, ran in an election. Fascist parties start as fascist social and political movements before they come to power. So it's important to see that these tactics occur even in societies that do not have a fascist regime. All nationalism involves a mythic past. So you can say, look, we're Polish people, people who spoke Polish and were sheep herders, and another bunch of Polish people who were fishermen. You can talk about how things were wonderful when we were all Polish together. That's a fine mythic past, but then there's the fascist mythic past. In the past, we were great. Wherein did our greatness consist? In our military. And in the past, the dominant racial group ruled over others. And then the fascist leader says, that has been taken from you by the leftists and communists. They want to weaken our military. They want to weaken our greatness. Propaganda is ubiquitous and everyone uses propaganda. In political propaganda, your main message is something other than the information you're conveying. Fascist propaganda is a very particular structure. It's based around a friend-enemy distinction. The political opponent, they are a merciless threat to your very existence and your traditions. They are the other. When they are in charge, it subverts the nation. So the structure of fascist propaganda is based on the idea that the other are fundamentally opposed to the nation. As Hitler says in Mein Kampf, science is only useful insofar as it strengthens the nation. Fascism is a cult of the leader. It involves the leader setting the rules about what's true and false. So any kind of expertise, reality, all of that is a challenge to the authority of the leader. If science would help him, then he can say, okay, I'll use it. Institutions that teach multiple perspectives on history in all its complexity are always a threat to the fascist leader. The center of democracy is truth. You're not free if you've been lied to. Nobody thinks the people of North Korea are free. The people of North Korea will vote for dear leader every time because they've been lied to. It's not a free vote because they don't have access to the truth. Equality similarly requires truth. Because equality in democracy doesn't mean we all have the same amount of money. It doesn't mean we all have the same car. It means political equality, that each of our voices matters the same. And political equality means speaking truth to power. If someone really powerful is humiliated when they're caught lying, that's the core of political equality. So if you're gonna rip the heart out of democracy, you get people used to lies. Here's a fact about humans. We all pretty much suck to the same degree. One group of us is not better than another group of us. Hierarchy is central here because it's the big lie at the center of things. What is racism but one big lie? Racism is the lie that one group is better than another. You're told this religion is better, this race is better, this gender is better. It's really a moral claim, has more moral worth. And then once you have hierarchy set up, you can make people very nervous and frightened about losing their position on that hierarchy. Hierarchy goes right into victimhood because once you convince people that they are justifiably higher on the hierarchy, then you can tell them that they're victims of equality. German Christians are victims of Jews. White Americans are victims of Black American equality. men are victims of feminism. Once you convince people that they should be better, that they have earned a position on the hierarchy over others, then you can tell them that equality is actually victimhood. Loyalty to the dominant group means law-abidingness, and the minority group is by its nature not law-abiding. Law and order in fascist politics means the members of the minority group who accept their subservient role, they're law-abiding, and the members of the dominant group, by their very nature, are law-abiding. By definition, the leader can't violate law and order. So law and order doesn't mean justice. Law and order doesn't mean equality. Law and order structures who's legitimate and who's not. Everywhere around the world, no matter what the situation is, in very different socioeconomic conditions, the fascist leader comes and tells you, your women and children are under threat. You need a strong man to protect your families. They make conservatives hysterically afraid of transgender rights or homosexuality, other ways of living. These are not people trying to live their own lives. They're trying to destroy your life, and they're coming after your children. What the fascist politician does is they take conservatives who aren't fascist at all, and they say, look, I know you might not like my ways. You might think I'm a womanizer. You might think I'm violent in my rhetoric, but you need someone like me now. You need someone like me because homosexuality, it isn't just trying for equality. It's coming after your family. Fascist movements typically, though not invariably, rest on an urban-rural divide. The cities are where there's decadence, where the elites congregate, where there's immigrants, there's criminality, there's Sodom and Gomorrah. In the city, there's not real work. The pure, hardworking, real members of the nation live in the rural areas where they work hard with their hands. When our politicians talk about inner city voters or urban voters, we all know what they mean. Arbeit macht frei, work shall make you free. This was written on the gates of Auschwitz. The idea is that the minority group, they're lazy and they need to be made to work. Free labor. The minority group and the leftists, they're lazy by their nature, and it gives them a work ethic. Labor unions are run by communists who are trying to make things easier. Hard work is a virtue. In liberal democracy, we don't value people by how hard they work. What would happen to disabled people who can't work? They would then have no value. It's why the Nazis had the T4 program to murder the disabled, because the disabled were lebensunwertiges Leben, life unworthy of life, because to be valued was to be capable of hard work. Each of these individual elements is not in and of itself fascist, but you have to worry when they're all grouped together. When honest conservatives are lured into fascism by people who tell them, look, it's an existential fight. I know you don't accept everything we do, you don't accept every doctrine, but your family is under threat. Your family is at risk. So without us, you're in peril. Those moments are the times when we need to worry about fascism.
Get smarter faster with new videos every week from the world's biggest thinkers. And to learn even more from the world's biggest thinkers, get Big Think Plus for your business.
Thank you for bearing with us through a long video. I wish that video did not resonate as much as it does. But it really does. We've got big problems in this country. But as Martin Luther King Jr. said, we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. There's a lot of good news, right? There's a lot of bad news, but there's a lot of good news. We do have the Constitution on our side. We do have freedom of speech. We have the ability to assemble and protest today. We're going to use that. do about these problems? This is the end of the educational portion of today's session. We're going to move into action. What do we actually do about this? We're going to talk about talking to your elected officials, being intentional with your money. We are going to talk about protesting, telling your story. Everyone in here has a story to tell, and people should hear it. And then last but not least, we're going to get people to vote. All right, so keeping with our hands-off theme for today, hands-off our democracy. Most important thing. Yeah, we got some signs. Everybody hold up your signs. We got some hands-off signs. Yes, love it. All right. So, starting with how to talk to your elected officials. I want you all to stand up. This is going to be hard because half the room's already standing up. But I want you to stand up if you've been in person to talk to your elected representative before. Ever. All right, now stand up if you have called or written to your representative. Look at the impact we can have when we all do the same thing together. It's awesome. All right, so most of you probably don't need the rest of what I'm about to say. But for those of you who didn't stand up, a lot of what I hear is people saying, I don't even know where to start. So this is a great place to start. If you haven't been here, go to usa.gov/elected-officials. Okay? You can Google it too. You can just Google find my elected official. It'll be the first thing that pops up. And you're going to type in your address. So we typed in the address for this church. So if we all lived in this church, we would type that in, and boom, it gives you a list of federal, state, and local officials. Now, everybody knows who the president is, unfortunately. Most of us know who our senators are. How many people? How did that get up bigger? How many of you know who your U.S. representative is? Your city council members. All right, that's awesome. So everybody here is going to be on one page. You click the little plus sign, it's going to expand. It will tell you who they are, it will tell you where to find them. Their address, their phone number, their Twitter handle, everything you need to go track down that person and tell them what you think they should do with that job. They represent you, so tell them. You can also find county officials on this website, so it's really a good one-stop shop. And then once you find out who they are, how many people know about the 5 Calls app?
Yeah, it's so easy.
All right. Okay, that's a little bit of a smaller crowd. I'm still going to say half of you know about 5 Calls, which is awesome. For those who don't, 5 Calls is a website and an application. It's the number 5calls.org. And you can use it to get scripts that you can read off of when you're calling a representative. So one of the biggest barriers when people are trying to call their reps or email them is they just don't really feel like they have the right words. So this website will give you a starting place. So all the hard work is done for you and you can just make that phone call. So the idea is to make it super, super easy. Just like the other one, you're going to start out with your address, so that it will direct you to the representatives that you can call. And then you type in an issue. So there's a huge list of issues, not on this screenshot. The screen isn't big enough for all the problems we have in this country right now. But you can choose an issue, and then it will give you some background on that so you can educate yourself. There's hyperlinks, you can go read articles. And then when you scroll down, it'll say, here's your representatives, here's their phone number, and here's what you can say to them. It gives you a script, you can read out, it's easy, and it makes it doable. So if you haven't used it yet, go do that. All right, next thing I want to talk about is committees and subcommittees. So these are not options for everybody necessarily. You don't want to go to a committee member who doesn't represent you and just vent about the world. But if you have subject matter expertise, like I see a sign down here that says hands off clean energy, so I'm going to use you as an example. If you work in clean energy and you can go talk to somebody in a committee that relates to that, then that's really going to be effective. So use your subject matter expertise. Again, all of you have it. All of you are better than all of us at something. Go use your voice and tell your story. So you can go to both the Senate and the House websites, pull up the list of committees. For example, there's 22 different people on the Judiciary Committee. So if you're a lawyer being attacked by the president, there's 22 people to complain to. Tips, do's and don'ts. Introduce yourself and also where you're from. They represent you, right? And you can bond over that shared space that you have. And also, they don't really care what people who are not their constituents have to say. But if you walk in and say, I'm your constituent, I live in Blue Springs, Missouri, I live in Overland Park, Kansas, then that will help them trigger, oh, this is somebody who could not vote for me or vote for me in the next election, and they will pay attention to that. They care about re-election. So introduce yourself, where you're from, know what their record is, don't accuse them of doing something they didn't do. But, know who you're talking to. Be friendly, respectful, brief. You might only get 5 minutes tops. So be prepared to talk briefly and specifically about one thing at a time. And if you have to call back multiple times, that's okay. But have a specific ask in mind. And then leave some printed information from behind if you are going to talk to them in person so they can learn more about it later when they do have a little more time. Or more realistically, so their staffers can. All right, don't get discouraged. That's a hard one because it can be really discouraging when people refuse to talk to you or listen to you. But we can't get discouraged. We don't have time to be discouraged. Also, don't be hyperbolic, sarcastic, rude, anything like that. It's not going to get our point across. We've got to be friendly, but forceful. And if they just refuse to show up, you can hold an empty chair town hall. So this just happened actually, I think last week for one of the representatives in Missouri that covers most of northern Missouri. He hasn't held a town hall since, you win.
Black Sam.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam Graves, right? Yeah. So he hasn't held a town hall since 2012. And has still maintained power. This picture is not from that one, but it's from a different one in California, I believe. The organizers decided it would be fun to have someone dress up like a chicken and sit on stage and field questions, since the actual rep was too scared to do it. So, there's lots of ways we can be creative and fun, just like with all your signs. Like, you can be creative and fun even in dark times, and this is a good way to do it. So if you're looking for resources, Indivisible has a guide on their website called the Missing Members of Congress Action Plan that outlines exactly where to go and how to get their attention in that way. So we've got a bunch of people pouring in with comments. This is great. I'm going to put it up one more time just in case you have any other comments and you didn't catch it earlier. All right. Last thing I will say before I pass the ball to Krista, hands off our wallets, okay? So billionaires have a lot of power in this country, right? I think we all know this. We have power too. We can spend our money in very specific ways that helps move our point across. So we can boycott companies that don't align with our values. We can buy from companies that do align with our values. We can buy gear. Everybody knows exactly what you stand for when you're wearing a red MAGA hat. We don't have anything like that. We should have gear. We should be proud, Be proud. financially support the people that are in the courts fighting for democracy. So a couple good websites, if you don't already know about these, opensecrets.org and goodsunitus.com are two websites that you can use to see how the companies that we buy products from are spending the money, right? So I blacked out the name of this company because I do not care to be sued today, but you know, if I went to this hardware store and saw that 95% of their donations went to Republicans, I might choose to shop at a different hardware store, right? I will say, because I don't think Costco will mind, that Costco looks great on this website. Okay, you can also protest with your money in different ways by restricting where you spend money or if you spend money at all. So really trying to shop local, shop small, and keep money away from big retailers that have a lot of that political power will piss them off. And then maybe they will talk to their buddy, the president, about changing things. These tariffs are going to be huge, right? So one great idea that Krista mentioned the other day is a resistance garden. I love it, right? Build yourself a garden so that you don't have to pay the tariffs for food. You can make your own food. And it's a form of resistance, which is super cool. All right, last one for me. Donate to people who are fighting in the courts. This is so important. It is so important. I do not even know how many lawsuits the ACLU has brought against the Trump administration in the first 4 years and just in the last couple months. But it's a lot, and they're doing really, really important work. But hiring lawyers to fight billionaires in courts, it's expensive, right? So go donate to ACLU, the League of Women Voters, Planned Parenthood needs support. Also getting involved in local campaigns, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, but local campaigns are not well funded, right? So even a little bit of money goes a long way when you're trying to flip a city council seat or a state rep seat. And so that's a great use of funds. And it's something that is impactful right now. Does anybody know when the next election is? Tuesday, that's right. Okay, so with that, I am going to hand it off to Krista to talk about freedom of the press.
So my name is Krista. We're going to talk about communication and we're going to talk about information, ways that we can tell our stories and reconnect with people who need to hear correct information and currently are not. How many of us in this room have had the experience over the last decade where they've talked to a friend, a neighbor, a coworker or something, somebody probably voted for Trump, and you think in your mind as you're having this conversation with this person, and they're telling you about something that's really important to them, something they're fired up about, and you think to yourself, man, that is a funny conclusion to draw from that. Or, yeah, I heard that and that was debunked. Or, what are you even talking about? Has anyone else had that? Yeah. We have got to communicate with each other again, and we have got to make sure correct information gets to everybody. We need everybody, not just half of us, in order to heal our country. So we're going to talk about how to tell your own story, how to talk about how you are impacted by Trump policies, and then how to connect with others. So one big way, like journalists right now, in addition to judges, are on the front lines defending our democracy, defending our country, telling the truth. If you're a journalist in this room or you work in the media, thank you for what you are doing.
She's with NPR. Thank you very much.
you're watching the Trump policies and you're saying, you know, that actually affects my family, or that one affects my employer, that one affects my business, speak up. Speak up. In the back, we've got pages showing contact information and news tip lines for local media. So print, television, and radio. If you're affected, tell your story. Raise your hand so a journalist knows how to find you. And you might not be the headline, but you might be an important part of the story. A real person who's really affected or has expertise in an area, and you can speak with authority on a specific subject. And if it's a big one, don't limit it to local. Call the Wall Street Journal. We can all do that. All right. Second, if you are part of it, we're all part of some kind of organization, some kind of club, some kind of board. If there's a way that you can speak as a group, do that. There is a lot of power in people coming together and speaking with a unified voice. So if you have a platform that you can use, speak out using that. Now, a lot of people, when they're part of organizations, they'll say, well, we're nonpartisan, and that's fine. You can be nonpartisan, but still step into the public debate about particular issues, and you should. If there's something that's affecting you, you should speak up. So here are two examples from just the last few weeks. This first one is from the American Bar Association. I don't know if anybody saw this run around on LinkedIn or in the media. This one was in specific response to the attacks from the Trump administration and its allies on judges and on lawyers who are bringing cases that the government doesn't like. Now, the ABA is a nonpartisan organization, and they were at pains to say that in their letter, but they wrote a scathing letter. The language was very clear, and that it was completely appropriate. So one good example of how to use your voice as a group to effectuate real change. Here's a second one. Now, so we've got an example of, you don't have to be down with Trump and everything he stands for to speak out as an organization and say, this one issue we need to talk about. So here's one from the same day from the United Auto Workers, from the UAW. On one hand, he spoke in favor of one of the Trump administration policies, and on the same day, he spoke against a different one. So focus on the issue, not, that's probably a way to get the message to resonate. Another one. Okay, journalists have been doing heroes' work on fact-checking. They've been doing heroes' work on fact-checking the administration. When they say something that is complete garbage or highly misleading, speak up and say something. Help journalists get good information. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on beyond actual electoral issues and legal matters in our legislatures, there are also lots of ways that you can get involved in civics. So there's a good organization called united-we.org. This is focused on generally getting women and female leaders connected with civic boards that are looking for people to fill leadership roles. So these can be everything from library boards to hospital boards to task forces designated by mayors and governors. Use your expertise. If you've got time and you're interested in taking a leadership role, this is a good way to really effectuate positive change and to do it in a non-governmental way. Now, hands up for free speech. We need to protest. Like we're all doing out here this afternoon. I hope everyone can make it across the street, bring your signs, protest. There's too many people here that can't fit, and that's how many of us there are. It's a testament. Okay, so we all found the one for today. How can you find events in the future? So if you go to indivisibleKansasCity.org, That's indivisibleKansasCity.org, and click on the events calendar. You can find different events, locations, times, etc. That's a good source. There are a lot of other local partners that also maintain events calendars, so check them out too. Now, a lot of us have been to protests before, but stand up if today is the first time you've been to a protest. Any new folks here? Thank you for coming. It's so exhilarating to be around so many people that share a common purpose and are so enthusiastic about the same things that we all are, which is protecting our country, protecting our democracy, and making sure that American values survive the way they should. So for those of us who are new to protest, thank you for coming. Always bring your sign, hand paint them. I love seeing all the messages that people, the creative, clever things that people put on their signs. Bring water, bring sunscreen in the summer, bring a friend. Important, don't engage with hecklers. I've been to several, and I think I've seen like a total of one heckler in all of these. But don't engage. If you see one, we're here. We're going to take the high road. We're going to show what we're all about. So, what's next? So, join us. So, I'm going to do a shameless plug here for donations. And then if you go in the back, there are QR codes where you can sign up to, or you can do the QR code with your phone. We are all volunteers. A lot of us have dipped into our pockets to fund this today. So, if you can help out with a few bucks, that would be appreciated. I'm also going to take a moment here while this shameless plug for donations is up on the screen, to talk about how to use our voices one-on-one with that cousin, that neighbor, that coworker, that friend who is not like-minded. Approach these conversations carefully, but I think over the last decade, a lot of us have gotten really good about just avoiding politics with certain individuals, right? And I know, common thing. But if we want to heal our country again, we are going to have to talk. We're going to have to talk to them again, period. But we're also going to have to approach difficult subjects like current events. And I don't mean to dismiss it. That's going to be challenging, but we've got to do it. So when you do these, approach the conversations with empathy. Think about okay, what would it take for someone to convince you that for years you had been misled? Or that your view about an issue was mistaken. What would it take to convince you of that? And that's the work we have to do. So we've got a long way to go, but if we all, one-on-one, with people we care about, people we respect, people who we know are kind, intelligent people, if we approach these conversations thoughtfully, I think we can make a real difference. If anyone's looking for conversation starters or ideas for how to have these conversations, they're in the printed materials in the back. So pick up one on your way out if you haven't already. Now, in addition to the shameless plug for donations, we also are looking for more volunteers. So everyone up here who's got one of these black shirts on, up here and in the back is a volunteer with Indivisible Kansas City. If you are interested in volunteering, check out the QR code. Again, it's on materials in the back. When you volunteer, please tell us your areas of expertise. Please tell us what you're good at, what you like doing, so that we know kind of how to best use your talents. And then last, before I hand the microphone back to Beverly, emails from us are going to be coming from these two accounts principally. Check your spam folders, maybe mark these as approved emails so that you make sure that you're getting communications from us. And remember, our website is indivisibleKansasCity.org. Thank you very much.
She's an organizer in the Sunright Movement, KC.
All right, testing. Is this on? Can y'all hear
of young people fighting to stop the climate crisis. I am here today because there are fascists running our government, destroying our lives, destroying our economy and our environment at the same time, and copying our money while doing it. I know what it feels like to be victims of their greed, of their destruction. We know what the climate crisis is like in Kansas City. We feel it in the winter, the harshest winter I've known in my life, with the most snow I've seen ever since I was born, and the harshest summers, the deepest heat that we have ever felt, our neighbors freezing, our community members dying of heat stroke and dehydration, and that is not right. We are part of a larger national movement, Sunrise Movement overall, and we are fighting to stop the climate crisis, to win a Green New Deal, which would build up our communities, strengthen our climate resilience, and ensure Black, brown, indigenous, and poor working class people are taken care of at the forefront of these solutions. To let people know a call to action. We want everyone in this room, no matter your race, your class, your age, your gender, to get involved. Because like Beverly said at the beginning, we need everyone. And even though we're a movement of young people, we can't do it alone. We need your support. Because I know what it's like to be victims of these people who are trying to destroy our country and take our money and ruin our lives. I am a victim of the U.S. healthcare system. My mother raised me and my siblings as a single mom, working 3 or more part-time jobs to send us to college, to pay for our home, to take care of me with my disability. And she still had to have moments of choosing whether to pay our utilities or pay for my surgery that would protect my eyes. And that is not okay. And one more thing. We know who we are up against, and they know what they are doing. We also have to know what we're doing, and that's what everyone here in this room is here today for. We know that we're going to go out there and show them what we're made of. Everyone in this room, all my older folks, we love y'all. Please donate your time, your money. We need to fund our movement and build up our leaders, our young people, so that they can organize and make change in the U.S., in Missouri, in Kansas City, all across the country. And so you can find us online at sunrisemovement.org. That's the national one. We don't have a local website. We're mostly on Instagram, but you can find us on social media. Sign up to pay and donate. And to my young people in the room, I want to hear y'all real quick. Where are my young people at? Sign up, become a member, join Sunrise Movement KC, the local chapter. I'm going to shout out Layla, one of our members. Okay, there she is. Find her afterward with a clipboard. We also have some lit to hand out. We are having a How to End an Oligarchy teach-in coming up on Saturday, April the 13th. And so I want to see all those young people there, and I want to see tons of names from our older folks in the room sending donations, spending their time, their resources, telling their own young people in their lives, their grandchildren, their children, their neighbors' children, to join us. Because as we say in Sunrise, even in the darkest of times, even when the night seems forever and goes on way too long, the sun will always rise in the morning.
Terrence. You got a job in front of you. So let me introduce Terrence Wise. He's a leader with Stand Up KC and Missouri Workers Center.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me up there? All right, my name is Terrence Wise, and I'm a leader with Stand Up KC in the Missouri Workers Center. And I'm proud to be here surrounded by people who know we're going to have to be hands-on if we want to do something about Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Am I right? And this ain't our first rodeo with Donald Trump, is it? It's not. If we want hands off our democracy and hands off our unions and hands off our health care and our civil rights, we got to come together like we did. We are today. Now, how many of you are in this room because somebody invited you and asked you to come? All right? And we got to continue to do more of that. We got to make sure this is not only a moment, but we're building a movement. We're building a movement. So we need a lot more of this. We know that our freedoms are under attack, from DC to KC and all in between. Our freedoms for the right to recover from illness, our freedom to care for our loved ones, our freedoms to make a good living and take care of our families, they're all under attack. I want to tell y'all a little bit about my story and how I got here today. I'm going to try to wrap up over a decade in just a few minutes. I got my first job at 16, making $4.25 an hour. Now, I heard some folks say, well, my first job was 95 cents an hour. I know some people can relate, like I made $2 for my first job. But I was $4.25. Think about what you made on your first job. I saw your eyes light up. I know that number very good. My first check was $150 for 2 weeks. And I gave it to my mom to help pay our light bill, but it still wasn't enough to help out. I ended up getting a second job. And my dream of being a writer and going to college, I was going to go to the University of South Carolina. Shout out to the Lake Gamecocks who won last night. Go Gamecocks! Oh yeah. But I got my second job, and eventually my dream of going to college was out the window. I was working 2 full-time jobs to help my family out and just try to get by. Fast forward now, me and my wife work full-time, and I have 3 girls of my own. One who is currently at the DMV, because it is an election Tuesday, she's got to get her an ID. So, elections matter. I told her to go handle that business, and then we'll make it back for the march. But I began organizing on my job over 10 years ago to win what we wanted at the time, $15 an hour and a union. And to ensure that my mother's past, my present, was not my daughter's future. Now, people called us crazy for demanding $15 an hour over a decade ago, but we knew our worth, and we kept fighting and organizing and going on strike. We slept on the steps of City Hall, and we won a minimum wage increase by a vote of 12-1 to raise the minimum wage, only to see legislators in Jeff City take it away through preemption. I said we were under attack from KC to DC, and in between, Jeff City is one of those in-between places we're under attack. But we went to the ballot box last November, y'all. We used the initiative process, and we voted, nearly 60% of Kansas Cityans voted to raise the minimum wage to $50 an hour and give workers paid sick leave. We read that at the ballot box in November. And it ain't even been a full calendar year yet, and they're trying to take it away in Jeff City, what we just voted to win. Now, if that's not a sign of our democracy being under attack, I don't know what is. The state motto goes, let the welfare of the people be the supreme law. That's the state motto, I didn't make that up. But it's corporate lawmakers that are trying to undo our hard work and our victory at the ballot box that we put in the work to win. And I want to say, and I want you guys to say, hands off. Hands off. Hands off our paid sick leave and our wage increases. Say hands off. Hands off. Hands off our democracy. Now, when I began organizing, y'all, we talk about the other side, the MAGAs and how they've been misled, and some even say brainwashed. Before I began organizing and coming into spaces like this, I was brainwashed. I thought white workers made more than black workers. I thought immigrant workers were the reason my job was so poor. I didn't see the correlation between poverty, democracy, and crime. But I know that when folks don't have the ability to take care of themselves, they don't have good benefits, that's where the crime comes in. I know when we all are thriving, when people on the lowest part of the totem pole are not making good wages, are not have good union jobs, then everyone struggles. That's just the reality. I know that they don't want this black kid from rural South Carolina to come together with Beverly, a Vietnam vet, and all of you to be in this space planning on what we will do next. They don't want to see that. That's where the power is. And I can remember when I was at the White House and I got to introduce Barack Obama at a labor conference. And me and Barack, I can call him Barack, he said we had a few moments off to the side. He was like, Terrence, you know what really, he said, pisses me off. He said that. And I was like, well, what is that? He was like, that people think that me and elected leaders have the power with a pen to make change. It's what individuals like you and folks in our movement do on the ground. It's what we do when we march outside of this setting today that makes the world change. I don't know where we lost that idea from. The power is in our hands. We say hands off, but the power is truly in our hands. Not Donald Trump, not Elon Musk, not Josh Hawley. It's in our hands. Our ability to come together and make those demands and make our voices heard. And that's what we got to do. We got to come together to fight for a democracy that we all want to see, and we can't be divided in doing that. Step one is to know that we all got to get involved. Everybody's echoed that from the stage. You got to get plugged in. And we got organizers here with 7 KC today, signing folks up. Where's Dan? He said, Dan, right here. So if you haven't signed up to get plugged in, because we got a lot of fights not only going on across the country, but here in our own backyard. Let's take care of home. So you got to get plugged in, you got to get signed up, and you got to be a part of something bigger than yourselves. I love you all. Thank you for coming out. Let's keep fighting.
Hello, testing. Okay, so I would, a couple of points I want to make is that not only do you need to get involved, but you can also say it, wear it, do it, speak it. I want to tell you, I have a sweatshirt that I got that says, "Not my president." And I wear that all the time. All the time. I have yet to come across anybody who has given me a hard time about it. But I do come across people that will lean over and the grocery store and go, "I like your shirt." It's hilarious. So I have these in my pocket, and it says indivisibleKansasCity.org. It's got the QR code, and I say, "Hey, check us out." So, there are so many groups here in Kansas City, and so if there are people here in the crowd today today that are a member of the group, please send me your information because we need to get together. I would love to have a meeting like this in T-Mobile Center. Or maybe even Arrowhead Stadium. But I gotta believe there's millions of us here that believe like all of you do. And I do want to thank all of you for being here today, and also I hope you're going to join us, across the street at the rally. And I do want to share with you, before I let you go, because I'm kind of selfish. If I can find it here in my notes, which I can't. There's probably other things I would love to tell you guys, some funny stories about the military, but no. I don't want to do that today. But I do want to share something from a book written many, many years ago by Leo Ralston. You guys have probably never heard of him. But I'm going to read this to you. I don't know why, I just always love this. In some way, however small and secret, each of us is a little mad. Everyone is lonely at bottom and cries out to be understood, but we can never entirely understand someone else. And each of us remains part stranger even to those who love us. Those who do not know fear are not really brave. For courage is the capacity to confront what can be imagined. You can understand people better if you look at them, no matter how old or impressive they may be, as if they are children. For most of us never mature, we simply grow taller. And I didn't get that last one. So, happiness comes from only when we push our brains and hearts to the farthest reaches of which we are capable. And this is the most important part. The purpose of life is to matter, to count, to stand for something, to have it make a difference that we lived at all. So let's go out there and make a difference.